What if this was your daughter? Me and children New York. You're being sucked into the deepest recesses of hell. If we do nothing.
Tú rescatas niños, ¿verdad? Quizá puedas.
Imagine someday it's gonna reach the likes of you. What if this was your daughter?
Once again, greetings from Caption Media. This review focuses on the recently released film Sound of Freedom. Let's first take a look at the box office numbers before giving you a review free of big spoilers. Sound of Freedom is the surprise box office hit that is based on a former government agent's pursuit to rescue child sex trafficking victims. It's grossed more than $100 million at the domestic box office, reported by Variety on Thursday. This is despite the scrutiny the film has received for its lead actor's ties to conspiracy theories. The story is true, but it barely comes to life with such a telling, which is a shame, not just because it's uncomfortable to be numbed by these themes, but also because director Alejandro Monteverde well clears the low bar for filmmaking that one expects from movies that are message first. Take away the noise surrounding it, and Sound of Freedom has distinct cinematic ambitions. A non-graphic horror film with what could be called an art house sensibility for muted rage and precise striking shadows that are derived from an already bleak world. Although the story is factual, this rendition doesn't really make it come to life. The movie offers a message first and a tale second. Its purpose is to increase our concern for the heinousness of child sex trafficking. It accomplishes this by displaying nauseating scenes of children in peril and being dragged around by unsavoury adults, and by forcing us to recall everyone's faces. Then Tim Ballard, an American man whose superpower is his compassion, emerges as a worn-out hero. The father and spouse leaves his position at Homeland Security 10 months before receiving a pension because he cares so much. As opposed to continuing his nearly 300-year tradition of just apprehending paedophiles, he travels to Colombia and goes undercover to aid in the rescue of children. This character is played by a kind and considerate actor, Jim Caviezel, who portrays this man in a profoundly serious manner. He portrays the character as bearing the message's pain much as he did when he portrayed Jesus Christ in Mel Gibson's The Passion of the Christ. Being concerned about children's safety is essentially the easiest cause for any remotely decent human being. Yet Sound of Freedom is a gloomy, drawn-out, monotonous film with a not especially strong narrative perspective. The tension in previously similar films like Gone Baby Gone and Taken has been a major selling point, demonstrating how simple it is to become emotionally immersed in a story when children are abducted and placed in a dangerous situation. Ballad's slow burn search for two children in particular, Miguel, played by Lucas Villa, and Rocco, played by Cristal Aparicio, whose faces haunt him, is not intensified by the truncated storytelling, which is written by co-writers Monteverde and Rod Barr, despite their dedication to such solemnity and suffering in its true story. Ballard is often paired with uninteresting characters in one-dimensional scenes because this world is so preoccupied in worrying about what's happening to the children that it seems to avoid creating tension elsewhere. His undercover missions serve more to make the audience uncomfortable than to actually put him in danger. There aren't many mind tricks to be played. Instead, the scenes of sting operations are placed in generalities based on how this might occur in real life. While it's intriguing how Monteverde veers away from violence or machismo, it offers little else in its place to compel the viewer. It's one anticlimactic moment after another. Anyone who is hotly anticipating Sound of Freedom because the poster shows Jim Caviezel clutching a gun and a rifle should reconsider. Beautifully stark images are frequently summarised in 3 or 4 lines of conversation, which includes the revelation of Ballard's involvement in the process. Ballard switches jobs after a co-worker questions him about how many kids he's helped. Ballard's wife Catherine, played by Mira Sorvino, is a character who's credited at the end for motivating his entire voyage. We only get a few cliched phrases from her at a time. Bill Camp, who portrays Ballard's confidant, has at least given more to say. Camp delivers a heartbreaking speech about being at the centre of the evil of child sex abuse. Additionally, he introduces the movie and positions Ballard to repeat its catchphrase, which is now available as a bumper sticker. God's children are not for sale. Caviezel is an essential anchor for this empty character study to be regarded as seriously as possible. Stark blonde hair cutting through the film's grey and black palette. In the same way that Ballard isn't developed beyond being a symbol in the film, this fascinating restrained performance loses its allure. A quick search on YouTube for Ballard reveals that the actual Ballard is a much more opinionated, hyper type of person than we see here. One wonders why the creators grew tired of it, because it offers a different tone for a story that is so character-focused. Just to give you more of the background, Sound of Freedom is based on a true story. It chronicles the extraordinary journey of Tim Ballard, who's a former Homeland Security agent, as he fights against human trafficking. His unrelenting quest for justice reveals the murky underbelly of this international crime, having a lasting effect on the struggle for freedom. Although it's crucial to note that the film takes some artistic liberties for narrative reasons, Sound of Freedom is based on the actual events surrounding the work of Tim Ballard. It is an unremarkable but effective thriller that can easily appeal to your emotions because it deals with child trafficking. The film also touches on a significant issue that neither side should politicise, which is controversy and the technical deficiencies in the filmmaking notwithstanding. Jim Caviezel effortlessly transitions into the Ballard role and he gives a heartfelt performance. On the positive side, critics must admit that over the 2-hour, 10-minute running duration, the director Alejandro Monteverde builds a clearly defined good versus evil line, and he keeps things straightforward with fundamental storytelling components, casting it as a larger scale procedural, similar to an extended episode of Magnum P.I. Knowing that tens of thousands of people will watch this vigilante film and leave feeling more knowledgeable about this issue, sometimes being obvious is sufficient. There are several ethically questionable elements to this movie, and its veracity has been called into question, but there's no disputing how powerful and emotional Sound of Freedom is. A river excursion in an unlikely Heart of Darkness style, according to some reviewers, is how the story deviates from its original intent, only this element is somewhat uninteresting. Despite what some naysayers claim, we shouldn't overlook the message that they wanted to deliver, and the movie's aims, even though some of the dialogue and some of the acting are clumsy. When it comes to the dramatic elements of this story about child sex trafficking, Sound of Freedom goes all in. There is plenty of action and anxiety in this brilliantly shot and produced film, but the docudrama style edge comes from the desire to tell a story and convey a message. We've seen into the darkness's core in a traditional pulp style. Our impulse to take action now seems more than just an action movie gesture, than a result of something we've learned about our surroundings. A good balance of rage and compassion may be found in Sound of Freedom. It makes you seriously consider the issue of child sex trafficking and how we can all strive to put an end to it. It is undoubtedly a fine concept and a helpful reminder of humanity's prodigious propensity for evil. But I feel there's a much better movie to be created about this delicate subject. There is no denying that it's a strong, suspenseful thriller that avoids exploitativeness while dealing with a very delicate subject. One of the most influential films of the year, despite significant pacing flaws and the fact that the movie probably would have been better if it was 20 minutes shorter. Though the film has excellent intentions and its subject matter is tragic, it unfortunately falls short of its captivating first act. The writing and slow pacing made me hungry for the credits, but there's possibly a very good movie in there somewhere. A sequence at the film's finale, according to some critics, shows Tim Ballard killing a man in order to save a child. This does not reflect reality. In real life, Tim Ballard was committed to defending kids from exploitation and trafficking for sex, and he operated within the law, collaborating with local law enforcement and governments to end child trafficking. And contrary to what is implied in the movie, Tim Ballard has never killed anyone. The method in which Tim murders someone in the film is entirely fictional, and it doesn't reflect the truth. Overall, the film receives an 8.5 out of 10 rating from me. In particular, if you enjoy drama or thriller films, I fully recommend it because it's entertaining to see. If you liked this movie, do share your thoughts about it. Do help us grow by subscribing to the channel. And to get more updates, please press the bell. Heading off now. Take care. Cheers.
I don't think I can do this job, Tim. As soon as I lay down.
The world has ever seen. It has already passed the illegal arms trade, and soon it's gonna pass.
Tú rescatas niños, ¿verdad? Quizá puedas ayudarme a encontrar a mi hermana.
Imagine walking into a room right now, seeing an empty bed. What will we do?
We're talking about extracting an 11-year-old girl from an army of rebels.
Not just her. I'm talking about rescuing hundreds of kids.
She could be a block down the road, or she could be in Moscow, Bangkok, LA.
Over 2 million children a year are being sucked into the deepest recesses of hell. What if this was your daughter?